Hello, everybody. It's attorney Laura Sterling. Do you like my background? Do you like it? It's my Christmas background. I have to tell you the truth. I was going to wear a Santa hat, but I don't know what happened to the Santa hat. I wore it on Sunday for the big game, the Argentinian game. And I don't know, it came off somewhere in the midst of that, and I'm not really sure where it is. Maybe my dog ate it. I'm not sure. But anyway, so I'm devoid of a hat, but I hope you like the background. I think it's very nice. So I hope you all are getting ready for the holidays. I know it's a crazy time right now, and I'm going to make this live a much more condensed version because I know that you don't have a whole hour to sit and listen to me when you need to be shopping or getting food prepared or traveling or being with friends and family. So I don't want to interfere with that. And I realize it's kind of early in the month for me to have my live, but the reason why I'm having it this week is because next week I'm going to be on vacation. Yay! Yes, I do get a vacation. I'm actually going to be in Vancouver Island. It's a place now, excuse me, for you Canadians that know how to pronounce it. Eucalypt or Eucalypt, I'm not really sure, but it's right on the ocean there on the island. So it's going to take us quite a while to get there. I have to take a train. No, not a train, a plane, a car, a ferry, and a car. So it's an all day trip. So I wanted to be totally focused on this. And oh, hey, Marcos, nice to see you too. And I hope you're not too busy with the holidays, but so that's where I'm going to be next week. Hopefully, having a little relaxation, doing some walks around nature, eating some good Canadian food. I like what they have. What Canadians like to eat, or what is a good thing that we like to eat up there, is called poutine. Now, I'm not a meat eater or a cheese eater. I'm vegan, in case you didn't know, but my husband likes to eat it. It's I call it heart attack on a plate. French fries, cheese curds or cheese, and then gravy and sausage. And it's just this whole mound of stuff on these poor little French fries. And I'm like, yeah, first of all, I don't eat all that. And secondly, I can just hear my heart go. Hello, Michael. How are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for joining. I'm glad to see that people are actually watching or paying attention. I thought for sure I'd be here talking all by myself because of the holidays. Now, I know you're all getting ready. And if I forget at the end, which hopefully I won't, I want to wish everybody a blessed holiday. I know it's almost like this is the first true Christmas that we're going to be not under that kind of COVID cloud, even though we seem to be getting all of this. I hear on the news about, shortness of medications and all that with RSV, the flu, and COVID. But hopefully you all are healthy and you're taking care of yourselves and not getting too stressed out, and that you get to spend time with your loved ones, even if it's the loved ones that just live in your house and not the loved ones that are out there. A couple New Year's ago, we usually get together with friends, and we did it by Zoom. And it was really nice because you know why? Number one, right afterwards, I could just go to sleep because I was in my own house. In fact, I think I did do it in my bed. So I was able to just, okay, bye everybody. Happy New Year. I can fall asleep pretty quickly. Anyway, well, why don't we get started? A couple little announcements. Newscaster Laura, she is on vacation. She is somewhere warm. I'm not really quite sure where she went, but she took the whole week off. So she's someplace warm, sunning herself. We're a little chilly here in Orlando. I don't even want to address what's going on up north. My parents I don't know if you know, they live in Duluth, Minnesota. So, that kind of tells you what kind of weather is going on up there. So, but anyway, she's down enjoying the sun. So you just have me for today. So I hope you don't mind. Anyway, okay, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about guardianships. So I'm just really going to go through the process with you, go through the process of the guardianship, what's entailed with being a guardian, all of that kind of stuff. So why don't we get started? Since we have Michael and Marcos that have said hello, hopefully we have more people out there listening to me. So and everything I talk about as far as the laws are pertaining to Florida. So if you live outside the state of Florida, you're going to want to consult with an attorney in your state because it's different in each state. I got this bird right next to my window just cawking away. Apparently, he doesn't like my live show, so he wants to hear something else. Anyway, so you want to consult with your attorney in your state of origin. So I'm just talking about Florida. So if you live in Florida, I'll be more than happy to talk with you more about guardianships. But anyway, let's get started. There are different kinds of guardianships. There's something called a guardian advocate. A guardian advocate was created in the state of Florida to help families, that bird, to help families with adults, adult children with special needs. So let's say you have an adult child or you have a minor child, you have a child who's 17 and they have cerebral palsy and they're not able to make decisions for themselves, or they have some other thing where they're unable to make decisions for themselves. So once they reach the age of 18, guess what? They're an adult. In the United States, when you turn 18, no matter what's going on, you're an adult. So at that time, as a parent, you're not able to make decisions for them anymore. You might get a hard time from doctors. Maybe if you're applying for Social Security benefits, get a hard time from Social Security, anything like that. So what Florida created was something called Guardian Advocate. And what a guardian advocate, hi, Antonio. What a guardian advocate does is they're in charge of the person, just the person, meaning that person is now appointed to make medical decisions for that person if they're unable. So what they do is they don't have to go through the whole incapacity issue, because all the parent has to do is present medical records saying, look, they were born with this, they are unable to make their own decisions, they can't verbalize this, here's all their doctor's reports, and the court will grant that person, usually it's a parent, it can be a sibling, whomever, to be guardian of the person. Now, let's say you need more than that. You need to be guardian of the property. Maybe they have an inheritance. Maybe there's a malpractice funds that need to be taken care of. That's when you switch over to what we're going to talk about, a full-on guardianship. And what we call a full-on guardianship here in Florida, plenary, 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 meaning of the whole person, everything that has to do with the person. So that would be guardian of the person, meaning the body, meaning making decisions, making medical decisions. If they need surgery, the doctors go to you. If they need a shot, like maybe a COVID shot or a flu shot, they go to you to get permission. That person cannot make those decisions anymore. And the doctors or the nursing homes or the hospital have to go to you. They can't go to that individual. Then there's guardian of the property. So property, any property they may have, maybe it's Social Security benefits, maybe it's, like I said, a malpractice lawsuit, maybe there's a house, maybe there's vehicles, all of that. Now you're in charge and you're able to deal with all of that. Bank accounts, being able to deal with that bank account. And so that's what a guardian of the property is. Now let me explain to you the difference, and then we'll go into the procedure. The person, now I always get asked this question, so I want to make sure I answer it because I'm sure you probably have the same question as everybody else. Well, if I become guardian of the person, do I need to bring them home and take care of them? I don't. I have a family, and this is my grandmother, and she's 93 years old, and she wanders, and she may wander out of the house. And what do I do? No, it doesn't mean that you have to physically take them into your home and take care of them. What it means is that you need to make sure that their needs are met. Are they in an appropriate setting? Like I said, if it's your 90-year-old grandmother who has a tendency to wander, is she in a secured place? Is she maybe in an assisted living where she can be monitored and she doesn't have the ability to wander out? So things like that, that's what your job is. And your job is to make sure that she gets the proper medical treatment and be involved in her medical treatment. All of that, that's what a guardian of the person. Now, guardian of the property, I get asked this question all the time. Well, does that mean that I have to pay all the bills? No, you do not have to pay the bills out of your own pocket. Of course, it's your choice. I would not advise it, but you do not have to pay out of pocket. You have to pay the bills with what money the ward has. That's what they call them, the ward. Your grandmother, your 90-year-old grandmother, she has money to pay her bills, you pay those bills. If she doesn't have money, if she's going into a facility, then your job is to work with the facility or work with Department of Children and Families to get her appropriate services to help cover that. So that's what your job is to. And then when you're getting those appropriate services, such as Medicaid or whatever it may be, for you to get what's needed, maybe bank statements, life insurance policies, deeds to home to show the Department of Children and Families what she qualifies for and what she doesn't. So that's your role as a guardian, as a plenary guardian, even as a guardian advocate. Now, how does this process work? You're saying, oh, well, I can get a guardianship. What do I need to do? Do I just need to file something with the court? Well, yes, you do need to file something with the court. With a guardianship, what you file, there's two cases. There's an incapacity case and there's a guardianship case. So the incapacity case is opened, and that's what we call a mental health case, because what the court does is they appoint 3 examining committee members. One of them has to be a doctor, has to be a medical doctor. The other 2 can be lay people. They can be nurses, social workers. They could be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, something like that. And the 3 of them are ordered to go and see this individual wherever they may be. Maybe they're at a hospital. Maybe they're at a nursing home. Maybe they're at your home. Maybe they're at their own home. So their job is to go out. I'll tell you a little secret. I used to do examining committee. I used to do those reports here in Seminole County, where I live. And I've had to go to people's houses. I've gone to nursing homes. I've gone to hospitals to do those reports. That was many years ago, and I don't do it anymore because it got very overwhelming with everything. But was able to go out. I do an assessment appropriate to my profession. So before I became a attorney, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So as a licensed clinical social worker, would I do a physical exam? No, because I'm not qualified. I don't know. They look good to me, but I can't do a physical exam. So I would maybe do a mini mental. I would ask questions to see how their memory is. And then I would do a report. And in that report, I say, okay, maybe they can keep these rights, but these rights they cannot because they can't function. Maybe I say they have the right to make social decisions, like they have the right to, participate in activities or, pick a movie, whatever, but they don't have the right to apply for government benefits or make medical decisions because they don't have the capability. So I either put down limited, where I think they should keep a couple rights, or I say full on plenary because they just can't maintain any of their rights based on my assessment of them. So anyway, after all the 3 examining committee members go out and see them, they submit the reports. And then what the court does is the court looks at those 3 reports and reads them and then asks me as the attorney for the guardian, and then also the ward, again, your 90-year-old grandmother is known as a ward. She's appointed an attorney. And that attorney advocates for your grandmother. And so that attorney may say, well, no, 90-year-old grandma objects. And then we have a full-on evidentiary hearing to see if 90-year-old grandma really can object or not, whether or not she has a capability to do that. Or if she doesn't object or she can't object because she doesn't have the capability, then that court-appointed attorney will most of the time say, we agree with the reports. The report should be admitted into evidence. And then the court determines your 90-year-old grandmother, the ward, as incapacitated. Now, is it a total incapacity or limited? That depends on the reports. So then once that's determined that they're incapacitated, that case closes. Boop, it's done. It's done. It's closed. Then the court shifts to the guardianship case. So in the guardianship case, now they're incapacitated. They have an individual who's incapacitated. They need to appoint somebody to make decisions, to what I always tell people, to become them. You now become them as a guardian. So the court can't just determine somebody incapacitated and say, well, it's lunchtime, let's go. No, then otherwise they're leaving that person vulnerable. So they have to appoint a guardian at that time. So let's pretend me, I'm applying to be my 90-year-old grandmother's guardian. So the court will look at it. They look at 2 things when they're appointing you as a guardian. Do you qualify? And to qualify, 2 things have to happen. Here in the state of Florida, you cannot be convicted of a felony. So if I had been convicted of a felony, I'm out. I can't be the guardian because Florida doesn't allow that. Now, there are some misdemeanors that maybe the court is like, oh, you're going to be in charge of somebody's money. I don't know necessarily if I want that. Maybe I've had some petty thefts or something like that. It just depends. It depends on the court. Secondly, they look at your credit history, your background. What's your credit history? And they do pull your credit. You have an application that you fill out, just like a job application. You put your social security number on there, they run it, and they want you to have, you may not have stellar credit, but something that the court can at least, put their teeth into. So, okay, well, maybe you have some late credit card payments, whatever. It really just depends on the court and the judge. So, as long as you don't have a bunch of bankruptcies, foreclosures, all that, because again, the court is looking at you as a fiduciary of that ward's, my 90-year-old grandmother's money and property. And if I can't take care of my own finances, how can I take care of my grandmother's? So, those are the two things. So, as long as I clear both of them, yay, I am now grandma's guardian. Now, for them to do the background check, the criminal background check, you do have to get fingerprinted here in Florida, through the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They do the criminal check, they send it to the court. As the attorney, I don't see that report. I don't see your credit report unless there's an issue. Then the court will point out the issue, and then we got to go from there. So, I see. Let me take a break. I see I have a couple of questions. I'm so sorry. Jimena, I like that name. You have a very, very unique name. Hi, I'd like to get a guardianship, but I don't want the government to be permanently in my life. Do I need to file annual reports and get court consent and stuff like that for everything? Well, here's the thing, Jimena. Yeah, you do. I don't know if it's government, but it's the court's involvement in it because they want to make sure you're doing your job. I'm sure you would make a stellar guardian. Your picture, you look fabulous. I'm sure you'd be stellar. But guess what? There's been guardians out there that have not. And so, because of that, we have to have this. We have to have these checks and balances. So, when you get the guardianship, yes, there's responsibilities. And that's a good segue. Thank you so much, Jimena, for bringing that question up. It's a good segue because once you're appointed, yes, you have things you need to do. First of all, you got to take a guardianship class. It's an 8-hour guardianship class, and that kind of gives you a rundown on everything. We try to give as much of a rundown as we can with our clients, but the class is great. It gives you even more, just more in depth. Secondly, you have to do an inventory. Okay, court, this is what my 90-year-old grandmother has. She has a house. She gets a Social Security income. She gets a pension from Disney, whatever it is. It's a snapshot. Here, court, here's what she has. So the court can go, okay, this is what she had when you were appointed. And so they're able to kind of see that and keep track of that. Then you do what's called an initial plan. The plan just says what I'm doing with grandma. And it may be, okay, grandma's going to go to XYZ nursing home. These are her doctors. This is who she sees the doctors for. This is what's going on with her. This is what she likes to do. And one thing that was added to the law for the guardianships was, is she a do not resuscitate or not? Meaning, is she, did she ever sign anything or anybody ever sign anything that if her heart were to stop and she were to stop breathing, that we would do cardiopulmonary resuscitation? The initial plan needs to say that. So once all that's in the court, then you have 1 year, every year, you have to file an annual accounting saying, okay, this is what she had in the inventory. This is what she has now. Now, if grandma's just getting Social Security or a pension and it's going to pay her daily bills or going to pay the facility, we usually file a motion to waive that because you don't need it. It's going to the nurse. All you're going to show is going to the nursing home, going to the nursing home, going to the assisted living, going to this. So we usually get that waived. But if you don't, if grandma has a sizable estate, then yes, you need to account for every dollar that's being spent. A lot of times what we do as well with the court is we ask the court to allow for an allowance. Like every month we calculate with the guardian what her bills are. And then we'll ask the court to say, okay, well, we need $10,000 each month to pay her living expenses. And we get an order for that. And we have to justify what those expenses are. So those are the kind of things that we do. But yes, if you're going to purchase things and you're going to spend her money, besides little things like buying her food, buying this and that. But if you're buying a burial or cremation or a funeral, prepaid funeral, or you want to sell something, you want to sell her home or you want to sell her car. Yes, you need to get a court order because you want the court to grant permission for that. You don't want the court to come later and say, wait a minute, why did you sell her house to your cousin for $100? No, you're not doing your job. Your fiduciary duty is to protect those assets. And if you go ahead, well, I'm the guardian, so here, you can have the house for $100. No, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And that's when you kind of go into the fact of, well, now they're looking at you to be responsible for things. Now, as a guardian, you have to have a bond if there's assets. If there's no assets, then we usually ask to be waived, but there has to be a bond there. So if you run off or something, that bond covers you. And so generally bonds don't cover if you have poor credit history. So that's kind of a set off there. But yes, unfortunately, you do need to do annual reports. You need to do an annual accounting if there's assets. You need to do an annual plan, probably the same as it was the year before, saying grandma's an XYZ nursing home. These are her doctors, all of that. And you do need court permission to do things. So it's just a checks and balances. I know it's tough because it's like, I don't want somebody, looking over my shoulder, but it is what it is. And it's out to protect the ward, my 90-year-old grandmother. They're not out to protect me. So that's why we do it. Michael, let me see. How do I know if I can trust a guardian? Is there a record of some kind? Very good question, Michael. Here in the state of Florida, there's something called the Office of Public and Professional Guardians. And you can always contact them or go on their website to check, okay, what's going on with this guardian? Do they still hold certification? Do they still hold a license? That's for a professional or a public guardian. If it's just, your cousin that is the guardian, then there's no organization that family members are next of kin. I was just in a hearing 20 minutes ago, and it was so funny. The judge, because all the siblings were on the Zoom, because we do everything virtual now, and he was asking everybody, "Are you kin? Are you kin? Are you kin?" I kind of giggled because I hadn't heard that in a while. But yes, all the brother wanted to be the guardian. So there's no office you can call or nobody you can call. Oh, is he going to do good? You just have to trust that the court is keeping tabs on him and that the court is monitoring what's going on and that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And you can always, intervene. And if you have an issue, you can always file something with the court and all of that. So yeah, I know it's, Michael, it's kind of unsettling if you're thinking, okay, it's a big job for me to be a guardian. Because it is a big job. And I tell family members, this is a big job. And I've had family members say, I just can't do it, and have, given it up to a professional guardian because that's their job. That's what they do all day. So it's just hard sometimes for family members, especially if family members have their own families, are working, have all of that. It can be very difficult. So professional guardians sometimes are helpful in that situation, but it really is up to you as a family how you want to handle that. So, but very good question, Michael. Oh, hi, Manny. You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking the question. I enjoy getting your questions. So, okay, so let's see where we're at. So we've talked about how the guardian is appointed. Every year, you have to do an annual plan telling where grandma is. You do an annual accounting if there's assets. You have to account for everything. Again, if you're buying just, you're buying clothes or you're buying food, stuff like that, that really doesn't matter. But if you're going to sell large assets or you need to sell off, maybe she has some stock or some investments, you need permission from the court. And I always tell my guardians, you want that permission because you don't want the court doing this to you. So just get the permission as long as you have a valid reason. Let's say you have to liquidate her Merrill Lynch account because you need to pay for the assisted living that she's at. Please. I draft a motion with an order, I submit it. Chances are the judge will just sign off, or the judge will require a hearing just to get more information, just to know what's going on. So as long as you have a valid reason for doing it. Years ago, I remember I had a guardian of children. He was actually just a guardian of the property because parents are natural guardians of their children, of minors. So he didn't need to be the guardian of the person because they're his kids. but he was a guardian of the property. Mom had passed away and she left a sizable life insurance policy. Well, you can't, the life insurance doesn't pay out to minors, it just doesn't. So he had to open up a guardianship of the property to maintain that life insurance policies for them, the proceeds. So he had asked me, he wanted his children, there were two of them, they wanted, they did really good in school and he wanted to take them to SeaWorld. Here we're in Orlando, we're the capital of theme parks. Anyway, he wanted to take them to SeaWorld to reward them. And he asked me if I could file a motion to get money from the life insurance proceeds to take them to SeaWorld. And I said, well, sir, understanding that money, that life insurance proceeds that you're keeping in guardianship for child X is child X's money. Ultimately, it's child X's money because it's to them and it's supposed to be held in trust. You have a fiduciary duty to protect that money. And you taking money out of those proceeds to reward your children is not you rewarding them, it's themselves rewarding themselves. So, but he wanted to do it. I just declined to take the case and declined to do it because I just I just couldn't do it. But so certain things like that sometimes. I'm not saying the court would have approved it or not approved it. Maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have, but I just didn't. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it, so I didn't do it. But anyway, you just got to keep those checks and balances going. Just got to make sure that you're getting permission, that everything's going okay. Even if you're a non-professional guardian and you want to get paid maybe for doing what you're doing out of the estate of grandma, there are certain guidelines that you have to follow when you submit for fees for doing things. They can't be things that you would regularly do, like as a granddaughter. Oh, I visited grandma 6 times this week. Well, I visited her as a granddaughter 6 times this week, not as a guardian. So you have to watch what you're doing, but your attorney should be able to help you through that. Oh, let me see. Saul. Oh, I like your name. Hello, Attorney Sterling. My question is, how long does it take to get guardianship in the state of Florida? Oh, it depends. I mean, like I said, 20 minutes ago, I was in a hearing and it was for an emergency temporary guardian. And what an emergency is in the state of Florida, the court can appoint an emergency temporary guardian immediately if there appears to be imminent danger that the physical or mental health or safety of the person will be seriously impaired, or that the person's property is in danger of being wasted, misappropriated, or lost, unless immediate action is taken. So the court can do it immediate, like pretty much quickly upon filing. We would, once the attorney is appointed for grandma, we can then start to coordinate a hearing, and then we have the hearing in front of the judge requesting an emergency be appointed because grandma has somebody that's moved into her house and is taking all her money, or grandma needs an emergency surgery and there's nobody to consent. Nobody has legal authorization to consent. So those are the things where the court can appoint an emergency just like that. So I know that in this case, we just filed the pleadings for an emergency temporary on the 16th, and we already had the emergency temporary today. It was a whirlwind to get it set for today, and it was a little exhausting for my staff, but we got it set. We got it taken care of. Now, then the plenary, the full-on guardianship, because the emergency is only good for 90 days. The plenary guardianship has to wait until the 3 examining committee reports are in to have that hearing, because otherwise they have nothing to base whether or not what kind of guardianship this person needs. Do they need a plenary? Do they need a limited? What do they need? They don't have any basis. So they have to wait till those examining committee reports are in. So I know my office, we hound the examining committee members like they're our family coming for Thanksgiving. You coming? You coming? You coming? You coming? That's how we are. So, but it usually may take a couple months just to get everything filed, to get the examining committee members appointed, to get those reports in, and then to get on the court docket, to get on the judge's docket. So it's rough. It's roughly maybe, I usually tell people 60 days, maybe a little longer if something happens, like here in the state of Florida, how we had 2 hurricanes pretty much right back to back. That kind of stalled us a little bit. or maybe a little sooner if things go quicker than usual. Some counties here in Florida are very quick. I'm like, whoa, whoa, we're already here. Okay, okay, all right, we're ready. And some are a little slower, and it just requires a little more follow-up from us. So anyway, very good questions, Hole. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so we talked about guardianships, what your role is as a guardian. Like I said, it can be kind of scary because it's a lot of responsibility. Now, there are some what we call less restrictive things that can be done before grandma is unable to make decisions, such thing as a power of attorney, where grandma has to appoint somebody as power of attorney. I can't appoint you to be power of attorney for grandma. I can't. Grandma has to have the capability to say, I want my granddaughter to be power of attorney, and she can, sign it, and two witnesses and notary and all of that kind of stuff. And that way, that would hopefully alleviate a great need for guardianship. But sometimes with those power of attorneys, I've found is that certain places don't accept power of attorneys. They want a guardianship. And, I'm having problems with one bank where they're not accepting the guardianship orders. I'm not really sure what to tell them. I've reached out, I've emailed them saying, this is a court order. Guess what? They're wanting a power of attorney. I'm like, you understand a court order trumps a power of attorney. Whatever. We're going back and forth. Sometimes that happens. It's a smaller bank. If it was a much larger bank, I'm sure they would understand, but sometimes the smaller banks don't quite understand guardianship, power of attorney, all of that kind of stuff. So, there's power of attorney for financial, power of attorney for healthcare. But again, the individual who is getting that power of attorney has to be able to make that decision, has to be freely and voluntarily and competent to make that decision to say who they want to be in charge of their stuff. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, grandma, you have lots of money. I'm going to be your power of attorney. Okay, everybody, I'm her power of attorney. No. Grandma has to appoint. So grandma has to sign on the dotted line. I have people come in and they want to be power of attorney over their dad or their mom. And so what I usually do is I have that person step out so that I can do an assessment on mom or dad or grandma and grandpa to see exactly, okay, are they able to make that decision for a power of attorney? Are they able? Can they understand? And that's when kind of my social work background comes in, because I do kind of a little mini mental talk to them about different things. And if I feel that they can't make that decision, I will tell that person I can't draft a power of attorney for them, because in my opinion, they can't make the decision. Now, somebody else may have a different opinion, but that's me, and I won't do it if I don't feel that they understand what it is. So I think that I've covered everything. Whew, like I said, I wanted to keep it kind of short, so I did 30 minutes. I'm pretty proud of myself because I can be a chatter sometimes, but I wanted to keep it short because I know you're all busy and I know you're getting ready for the holidays. It's just today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days away. Can you believe it? I remember January 1st. It was like a blip, like how many months ago? And now we're already to the end of the year. And I know 2023 is going to be an explosion of, happiness and health and wealth and everything for you all. So I want to take a few minutes and I just want to thank everybody for tuning into my lives every month. I appreciate you. I really respect you, and I love your questions, and I love that you give me your questions. And please always feel free. You can always send questions too through my Facebook page, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. Or you can just give us a call, and we'd be more than happy. If you're in the state of Florida, to either talk to you on the phone, do Zoom, bring you into the office and talk to you. But I do really appreciate you, and I thank you so much for being a part of my life. And I really want to tell you all to have a blessed holiday season, no matter what holiday that you celebrate, and that you have a safe and blessed New Year's. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.